everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Heather and we are a fun, fabulous sewing channel where I am always me and I encourage you to be you. Today we are making the video companion for the holiday sew along makeup kit, but also I'm going to share all of the measurements so that you can make this with any material that you want. So what is our bag looking like today? Yes! I have done a makeup bag before and a full tutorial for it, but I used binding to finish the edges. I think, did I? Oh no. I did this like really sort of confusing, but really effective way to do the corners. And today we're doing a different technique. We're actually going to utilize a French seam technique, which I haven't done a ton of. So mine's probably not the greatest. I'm sure some of you have better French seams than me, but it's an interesting, different way that is easier, I think, than the other way that I've shown you how to do a makeup bag before. So we're going to do that. We're also quilting at, if you can see, if you look in this blue, we're quilting at a 1/2 inch, quilt. And so it just kind of like, it gives it a different shape. It gives it a different look. The French seams really make it nice and boxy, and you can see we've got the inside here. We open it and close it through a turn hole in the bottom, and it's relatively easy. We're going to make the tabs here as well. It's relatively simple, easy. Like once you make one, it makes so much more sense than when you're like, never done one before. If you bought this kit, you're going to get all of these materials here, and they are all officially on their way to you. Yes, every single one of them has shipped out. So if you purchased one and you've been wondering when it's coming, it is on its way to you. It should be there very soon. And so I wanted to make sure this video came out around the same time that kits are arriving, so you didn't have to go far to find it. So thank you to everybody who purchased a kit. To everybody else, like I said, I will include all the measurements so you can make these with your own materials at home. No pattern needed. We're just going to get to it and get sewing and just like, oh, you guys see the ornaments? This is one of my favorite custom printed materials. So this is not a material that you can purchase. It was available in the kit only, and unless you find something that's very similar, which is totally possible because there's a bunch of these out there, but this one I had custom printed myself. So, and it is all cotton, and the interior is cotton as well. It's just this really pretty blue color. I was really feeling those, like, you've seen those bags with these designs that are like this, but aren't necessarily like Christmassy, and I had to do it. And I'm so happy I did. All right, let's head on over to the sewing machine and get going. All right, you guys, we are at the machine, which as always is a Juki TL2010Q. We are using Tex 35 weight thread, polyester blend from Waywack in the top and the bobbin. We have micro Tex 9014 needle in, which we're sewing with cotton. It is not necessary. However, your girl ain't changing it, so here we are. And we are using our tank foot for high shank machines. The number on the side is KT141. I bought this from a shop that doesn't sell them, so I don't like to tell you where you can and can get them from. That's why I give you the numbers on the side. This foot is basically like a walking foot. It moves the material through, but without that walking foot bulk that you find in the Juki TL series. Okay, that's the machine. The materials. All right, so we're going to use a little hang tag here that we're just going to sew in to the bottom seam once we sort of put that together. So we've got that. We've got our 2 cuts of interior, and this is just a quilting cotton from Hobby Lobby. So 2 cuts of our interior. We've got 2 cuts of our exterior, and this was custom printed. This is also a quilting cotton. And then we're using extra high loft batting, so it's like super smushy. Guys, if you've been with me for a bit, you know I love the smush, so it's super smushy. I will link the batting in the description box below this video. I will also have the measurements that I'm about to tell you written out in the description box below this video as well. So make sure you open up that description box so that you can see everything that's in there. Okay, and then the other small piece that we have here, this is going to be how we make our tab connectors, our pieces. And so this piece right here, if you're making this yourself, you want to cut this at 3.5 inches wide by 5 inches long. Okay, so 3.5 inches wide by 5 inches long. And then your interior and exterior pieces need to be cut at 12 inches wide. Okay, 12 inches wide by 9.5 inches tall. All right, and then the only other thing that you need here is a zippy. I'm going to grab that. We have zipper tape here, but you just want to cut, if you're using a zipper, just make sure you have a zipper that's 12.5 inches long at least. You want it to overhang a little bit. We're not putting stoppers or anything like that on there. And I'm just going to cut ours so that it's long enough so that it overhangs. So we've got one zipper pull and one cut of zip tape. We're going to be making a lot of bags. I definitely suggest Zipper by the Yard. Comes with a bunch of zipper pulls and kind of everything that you need. So I will link this exact one. I actually really like this. It's kind of like a muted gold and it's on this bright white zipper tape. And so I'll link this one in the description box as well. I really like the colors of this. All right, so for now, we're just going to leave these things. I've already quilted one panel. We'll talk about that in a minute. But while I have this piece sort of hanging around, we're going to go ahead and make this, okay? So this is simple. This will make both of our tabs. We're just going to fold this in half and kind of crease it to give ourselves that line. And then we'll fold both raw edges into that center. And then over one more time. So it's going to create this tube. I'm just going to clip the open sides here. We're going to go ahead and sew down the open sides, the open side, and then the folded over side. And then we're going to do a second row of stitching to really kind of match our quilting. It's not necessary for construction, but I do think the extra stitching helps. Give it a little bit of structure. You could put some interfacing in here if you want. But as my son would say, it's not that serious. And you don't have to do the short edges. So we can just go ahead and turn that around. And we're stitching about a little between 1/8 and 1/4 for our first row here. So not directly on the edge, but pretty close. Okay, so that's our stitches so far. And then we're just going to come in and we're going to line up our presser foot right on top of that previous stitch. And that's how we're going to make our second lines. This will be different, obviously, depending on what foot you have. But that's how I kind of gauge it. As long as they're even, you kind of can't go wrong here. All right, and there we go. We have 4 lines of stitching total. We're going to go ahead and fold this piece in half, and then we're just going to clip it. And that creates our 2 tabs that we're going to need for later when we put our bag together. All right, so we can set those to the side for now. Now our, like I said, I have quilted one of our panels already. So we've got you can still see my air erasing marker. I just did it. These purple lines, they'll go away. So I'm not worried about those at all. We just basically clipped our center pieces and we drew one line from top center to bottom center. And then we used our ruler and went a 1/2 inch over until the edge on both sides. I'll show you this actually in 1 second. And we quilted all the way through. Now, I actually think that the quilting process, because we're doing such small sections, is the longest part of this bag. So I'm not going to show you the whole quilting process of this panel because we'd be here for a long time. But I will tell you that I think that this is the longest part. So once you get past this, the bag comes together pretty quickly. I just like the way that the 1/2 inch quilt looks. It's not something I usually do. Usually I do like 2-inch wide quilting, and that's because I am lacking in the patience department a lot of times. But there are some bags where it works, you know? You want to take the time to do the extra bit, and I really think that the way that this turns out, this bag is that. So I just clipped the centers. Okay, and this is the air erasing marker that I was talking about. I'm going to use my Omni Grid. This is 3.5 inches wide by 24 inches long. It's one of my favorites, and it's specifically for quilting. It has this 1/2 inch mark here, and that's basically what we're going to use. So we're just going to line up that clip on the top and the bottom for where the centers are. It takes a long time to draw these lines too, so if you have a guide on your machine, that will save you some time for sure. You could just make this center line and then line up a 1/2 inch and go to town. But we don't, so we've got our line, and then we're just gonna take our 1/2 inch mark on that ruler. We're gonna place it right over that line, and then we're gonna draw our next one. Okay, and we're gonna keep going like that until we make it to the end over here. And then we'll flip our ruler and we'll do the same thing. We'll line up that 1/2 inch and make our marks going the other way. So I'm going to make all those marks, and then we'll come back together and we'll quilt a couple of these lines. All right, so all of our lines are drawn. I like to make sure that I cut out our batting bigger than we need, and then we just cut it down afterwards. I just feel like it's easier. It's easier for me. If it's not easier for you, that's okay. Like, you do you, whatever way works for you. I like to start directly in the center when I'm quilting. Is it necessary? Probably not. Apparently I'm gonna fumble all my words today. But I don't know, it's my jam. So if I was making a recommendation, I would say start in the middle. And I am backstitching at the beginning and the end, okay? And then I always start from the same top. So I never just turn it and start at the bottom. I like all the stitching to just be going the same way. Again, like, does it matter? I don't know. Am I being superstitious? Like, quite possibly. But that's how I quilt. All right, and so we'll just work our way down one side and then over on the other. And we'll just continue sewing down these lines until we have completely finished. All right, there we go. All sewed up. All right, so we're just gonna cut off the excess. And in my opinion, the quilting is the most tedious part of this entire pattern. So once you've gotten here and you now have your beautiful exterior panels, I feel like you're in the green, you know? Are there other parts that are going to be a bit tricky if you've never done them? For sure, but this is the most time-consuming part. I'm just cutting off all those threads at the same time here. All right. Perfect. So our material is directional, so we're just going to make sure that we pay attention to that. Obviously these ornaments are hanging, and so we want to make sure that we put them in the right direction. We're going to take our zip tape and we're going to turn it right side down. And just make sure, again, that you have some overhang. We're not being super specific, but that's because you don't need to be. Just some overhang on both sides to cover yourself. It'll make it easier to put on your zip pull. All those things. Our zipper tape looks like metal, but it's not. It is plastic. And then we're going to take one of our interior pieces. Okay, and there's no right or wrong side here, so we're just going to place it right over. So our zipper is now in the middle. And that's just making what we call a zipper sandwich. And I'm just adding it into those clips here at the top. Okay, and we're just going to stitch across this. And I'm sewing the zipper on at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you want to put a zip foot on your machine and get a little closer, you definitely can. Again, you do you here, whatever works for you. All right, we're going to flip that open and we're going to top stitch. So I'm just sort of like, you could press this if you wanted because it is all cotton, but we're just going to finger press. And we're top stitching at 1/8 of an inch. And we're just making sure occasionally that that cotton is down as well. And if you're new to my channel and you don't know this about me, your girl's a terrible cutter. You should cut it so that your panels match, but it's not a huge deal if they don't. We'll figure that out in the wash here. All right, so now, like I said, our material is directional, so we want to make sure that we put the right direction on the other side so that we don't have one going the right way and one going the wrong way. So we're going to take our exterior piece with the correct direction and we're going to place that right side together with our exterior, and we're just going to line up the sides and the top here. And clip that in place. Okay, And then we'll take our other interior panel, and there is no right or wrong again, so we're just going to take it and we're going to match that with the interior side. And we're going to place that into our clips. And same thing here, you guys. We're just stitching right on, okay? So same way, doesn't matter what side you stitch from. All right, and then once again, we're going to top stitch. Okay, so take that material, press away, and same 1/8 inch. So everything is the same, you're just doing it over here as well. And backstitching, we're always backstitching at the beginning and the end, okay? All right, so that's what we're working with right now. We've got our stitches in. Now I'm just gonna quickly, off camera, square up my pieces and just cut off any excess now before we move to our next step. All right, I should also mention that even if you're somebody who precisely cuts your interior panels, they're probably gonna be a little off, because when you quilt material, I can't remember which side was my front side now, but when you quilt material, it shrinks it because you're like manipulating it, and so you're gonna have to trim up that lining regardless. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put our zip pull on now so we do not forget. And if you're not if you don't have a front or a back side, it's not a big deal which way you put this on. You could also put on 2 zip pulls so that it opens from the center out on both directions. Again, I guess the message of the day today is like, you do you. Kits come with 1 zip pull though, so if you got a kit, you've got 1 pull in there. And zippers, you guys, you could put on 100 beautifully, and then your 101st does not go as planned. All right, so now we're going to take our exterior pieces and we're just going to match up the bottoms, and we're going to stitch all the way across, and we're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. Okay. And like I said, we're going to stitch all the way across at a 1/4 inch. Back stitching. Perfect. Now our interior pieces, we're going to line up those bottoms only here as well, but we're going to leave an opening to turn our bag. So we'll leave probably about a 4 to 5 inch wide hole here right in the center in the bottom. So we're going to stitch together both sides. good back stitch there, and just try to, I know we're eyeballing it, but try to just make it so that you stitch together your sides sort of similarly. That way your opening is right in the center. Okay? All right. We're doing good. Doing good, you guys. Now we're going to take our bag and exterior side first. We're going to line up our base with our zipper. So that's kind of like our center mark. We're just going to clip our exteriors for now. Okay. Same thing over here. You really just want to make sure that you are centered. It's important to have yourself a good bag, okay? And then we're going to add in our interiors here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line up that center with the center of our zipper, and we'll just go ahead and add that into our clips. Okay, both sides here. All right, now before we stitch anything, okay, we're gonna box our corners. I don't want to re-stitch over any of our stitches, so we're gonna box now. And we're doing 2" by 2" wide cuts here. Okay, so we're gonna take our small omni grid. This is a 2.5 by 2.5, and we're just gonna line it up on that mark for 2" by 2". We're gonna draw our line. And we're gonna cut interior and exterior all together. So just make sure everything is lined up. Okay? So I'm going to do that to the other remaining 3 corners. All right, so our corners are all set. We're going to trim down our zips just a bit. We'll have to trim them once more, so I'm not going to burn the edges or anything yet, but I just want to make sure that we can get some clips down here. Because we need to add in our zip tabs. Let's cut off some of these long threads here. Okay, so there's no right or wrong side here. You're just going to take your tab and the folded side, so not the raw edges, the folded side, you're going to stick in on the exterior side right over that zip tape. Okay. Same thing over here. All right, so now we can go ahead and stitch down these 2 sides. And we're gonna stitch down at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance here. We'll just make sure that we caught everything. We're going to take our time. The zipper will be bulky now that we have all those things in there. Okay, so stitched together. And now we can go ahead and just sort of trim down that zip all the way. My little lighter is out of lighter fluid, so we've got the kitchen lighter in here, our candle lighter. Just burn that end whenever you do any sort of cutting of zipper tape. You just want to make sure that you burn your edges so that it doesn't fray over time. That will sort of protect it. It just seals in on itself. Okay, once again, we're coming up to that zip tape. We're just going to take our time here. And same thing. Got a little fabric burn going on there. That's okay, you'll never see that. All right. Now, you guessed it, we're going to turn our bag. I know. We haven't done anything with the corners yet. That's okay. So we're just going to push everything through. We're going to leave that turn hole open for now, okay? Now you can see our sides here. Are going to make this box. And we're going to clip them together like this. Okay, this is the French seam that we're going to work on here. You just want to make sure that you pull your lining so that it's taut. Everything matches up. Okay. The first time I did this, I missed the lining because I did not pull it so that it was up with everything else, and so lesson learned. Okay, so after we do this, we're just going to take a look, make sure everything's even. Okay. I think we look pretty good. And by even, I mean like just that we're matching. Tabs look good. All right, we're going to go ahead and stitch. So we'll just take one corner. And because I want to make sure we catch everything, we're going to sew this at a 3/8 inch also. And we're going to start above. So we're going to line up the edge of our fabric with that 3/8 inch mark. Okay, so let me show you. So here, See, we stitched above where that sort of box starts and below where that box ends. It's because the edge of our fabric was lined up right there with that 3/8 inch seam allowance. We're going to do that on all 4 corners. Okay, so now you just want to make sure, like, look in here, make sure you caught everything on all your corners, that you didn't miss any fabric or material or anything like that. So see down here, we missed a little bit. So we'll have to just come in a hair so that we can catch that. Oh, we still missed it. How is that possible? How, you guys? Let's go ahead and line ourselves up. So we just sew over until you catch it, okay? Good to go, good to go. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna come in, we're trimming this down a lot. Down to like 1/8 of an inch away from your stitches. Not through your stitches, because that would defeat the purpose. But you basically want to get as close as you feel comfortable, because when we turn this and sew the French seam, you don't want any of your material from the outside to be sticking out. So the closer, the better. I'm going to go ahead and take this just off camera so that I can bring it close to myself and take a look. Make sure that we are where I want to be. It's just, I want to pull away from you guys. Okay, but so see that? See how close we are? That's basically what we want. So I'm going to make sure that's where we are in all 4 sides. And then I'm going to trim off any of our excess threads here. All right, so we're looking pretty good. All of our sides are trimmed down. We're going to turn our bag. Okay. And the way that you do a French seam is you basically get your seam in there, okay? And then we're going to stitch 1/4 inch away from the edge, which should encapsulate all of that exterior. So I'm going to show you on one. And I'm just making sure that we don't have any of our material out where that needle is going. So we're between 1/4 and 3/8. So you could go 3/8 to be safe. Okay, and then I'm just going to show you what that looks like. And there's our finished edge. All right, so I'm gonna do that same thing, and I'm gonna stick to that closer to 3/8 inch just to make sure we get everything on all of our remaining 3 corners. All right, so once all your corners are done, you can go ahead and turn that bag again. And I just like take a look after I finish each one. We're gonna pull up this lining, close it off, and that's our last step to finishing this bag, believe it or not. See how fast that went? We're gonna grab our hang tag, and we're just gonna stick that in there. Like so, so you can see our name. And then we're just gonna top stitch across. I'll move the camera here as soon as I get this in. We're gonna top stitch across. It's not the easiest top stitch, but it's not the most difficult either. Just to close that hole up, okay? As always, just cut the threads. And then our pretty little name tag is right there at the bottom. And we can go ahead and head on over to the finish table and take a look at our absolutely adorable brand new makeup bag. All right, you guys, so that's it. That is our super cute, pretty fast, beginner-friendly boxy bag, makeup bag, whatever you want to call it. And of course, this is our holiday kit, which are unfortunately sold out, but those of you who got one should be getting yours this week. Our interior with our little tag on the bottom, our French seam corners really make this very structured, which is great. You want to have a nice structured boxy bag that you can just put your things in and you know it's not going to sort of deform. It's nice and smushy, but it goes back to the shape that you want it to be, and are just like, our quilting. So worth it, right? There are some bags that are just so worth it. I want to take a second to talk about being kind for a hot minute. It is like, sometimes I'll get comments that are not the nicest, and not that they bother me as like a person, but I wonder sometimes why there are things that I don't like, right? I'm human. Like, I come across things that I don't like every single day, and I just keep moving past them because I don't need to share my dislike for something because somebody worked really hard for that. And I think that I just want to take a second to like remind everybody that kindness counts, and it doesn't hurt me when people say bad things, but like, it will hurt them. I believe that. I think that if you're kind things will happen to you. And so that's my message for today, is like, let's be kind. It is holiday season. It is like, we're all just kind of like trying to help each other, be creative, and make fresh things and all of that. And so like, let's be kind. Let's remember to be kind. My last bit on the bag, if you are not comfortable with French seams, you know, use binding, or I will drop the other video where I make the corners different. I'll put that in the description box too. So if you haven't seen that one and you want to see that and figure out which corner option you like best, go for it. Like, I'll make sure that it's there for you too, so that you can figure out what works for you. All right. Well, with that, we're all done for today. I hope that you enjoyed this boxy bag tutorial. Perfect for any sewing level and just super cute, really giftable. You know, boxy bags, makeup bags, they're perfect for teens and tweens and really anybody. You can make a travel bag. You could do, you know, waxed canvas and waterproof canvas interior. You can make it, you know, something for everybody. So thanks so much for joining me today. If you're still here, I really appreciate you. You guys know you mean the world to me. I couldn't be me without you all being here with me. So genuinely, thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember to be kind, and I will see you soon.